Hi everybody! Today's Inkvent ink is Cinnabun. This is a yellow brown and it is a scented ink. I have to say that I guess I'm lucky because in my bottle there is not a lot of scent in it. I can smell it when I put my nose over the bottle or directly under the nib. And the smell is like cinnamon, but more chemical. But it is, for my nose, it is not as bad as the ink Sweet Dreams, which was a floral scent. So Cinnabun is much more pleasant. I cannot smell it when I'm writing with it. So this is, for me, a good thing. Here's the ink chromatography. You see here we have an orangey, peachy, maybe coral tone. Then we have a yellow and then we have a very light blue. It reminds me of Diamine Bow Blue. Here's the ink on the Rodeo notepad. I have written this here with the Pelican style neon yellow. This medium nib. With this ink, the pen writes a little more broad, but it was not very dramatic. It was not like a nib size bigger than it was with the Diamine Sweet Dreams. Here's the dry time, and you see it is not a very wet ink. It dries with 10 seconds. And here is the water resistance. You can see here that we have a little bit left, but I wouldn't call it water resistant because when you look here, the W or here the E is almost gone. So I think you wouldn't be able to restore a whole page of writing. So how does the ink look when it is still wet? You see here it is a nice brown, but in the writing it lightens up and it is more, or it goes more in the direction of yellow. Now here the ink on the Rodeo Gold book with the cream colored paper. I had no bleed through, no feathering, and also no show through or ghosting. This ink behaved very well on the Rodeo Gold book, but also on the Oxford optic paper. But I have to say that it was not as pleasant to write with this ink, especially on the Rodeo Gold book. On the Oxford optic paper, it was much better. Here's the ink on the whole page. You see, although it is more a yellow-brown or brown-yellow, this ink is dark enough so that you can read it easily on the page. And here we have it on the Rodeo, not on the Rodeo, on the Oxford optic paper. This ink also is very flat, so there is not much shading here. So it's not really an ink that I prefer because I like more the shading inks or shimmer, but not so much the flat inks. Now we come to the ink comparison. Here you see the ink swatch. In the swatch itself, it looked much darker than it is. So it is more like, you can see it here, what it's written. It's more the real color that you see on the page and not this dark or a darker brown ink. So I have here first the golden honey. To see, this is more orange, as well as honey burst. Then I have here the dusted truffle from the green Inkvent without the shimmer, but you see here this is much more cooler brown, as well as jewel log. It's not that cool, but it's darker in tone. And brandy snap has more orange in it. Desert burst is darker in tone and has more yellow in it. Golden brown is also darker in tone, as well as sepia. And here tobacco sunburst is maybe a little bit more cooler, and tobacco sunburst is darker in tone. Ochre has more red in it, as well as warm brown. Then Pilot Iroshizuku, the inner hole is more olive green. Tsukushi is darker in tone. And Robert Austin Muddy Sand has more brown in it. It is darker. The Muddy Bucket is more yellow or olive yellow green in tone. The Cafe Crema is darker in tone, as well as Kansas City and Toffee. Then Honeybee is more orange in tone. Winter La Paz is darker in tone and has more green in it. Color Traveler Ninoshima Baumkuchen is lighter in tone and is more a yellow, has no brown in it. Jacques Herbin Ambre de Baltic is more of a yellow, as well as Ambre de Birmanie. Then Teranishi Nostalgic Honey is more orange and darker in tone. Then Inkebara Caramel is darker in tone, as well as Cinnamon. Then I have one ink that is not exactly the same, but it goes in the direction from Cinnabun. It is not scented, and it is the Three Kings from the green Inkvent. Here, when you compare the swatch cards, you would say, wow, Three Kings is much more lighter. But when you compare the writing, then you see here that green ink, the Three Kings comes close to it. But Three Kings maybe is warmer in tone, has maybe a bit more yellow in it. Maybe I will show you this here directly with the Oxford optic paper. Here you see that the writing is similar in tone. So if you prefer an unscented ink in this color range, then I can suggest Three Kings to you. There you have the price comparison. You see here that, yeah, here I've written it again. It's more yellow and less brown, warmer in tone. And you can buy that Stile und Stile for $9.90. So this was today's ink. I wish you a wonderful day. See you tomorrow. Bye bye.